inside in another space, where COVID had also some increasing impact. So same question to Arun, and we already had some introduction into fake-free India from your colleague a few minutes ago. So I'm sure you are probably going to add much more also in terms of impact of COVID, for your association.
Sure. Thank you, Philip. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good evening, whichever part of the world we are in. First of all, I noticed last few hours we've been all so serious. So I want to share something humorous. I just came across this photograph which is going viral across the world. And this talks about a shop. And the board on the shop reads 100% genuine fake shop. So this guy is so confident, he's writing 100% genuine fake shop. And just imagine what is the tagline. Tagline is shop till you drop. So I actually dropped from the bed laughing after seeing this photograph. So I thought I'd begin on a humorous note at least to break that seriousness that we all facing here. So that is one. Thank you, Philip, for introducing us. I've had experience in corporate life for almost 30 years. I worked with organizations in the various sectors, including automobiles, infrastructure, steel, oil and gas, airports. And after that, I've joined this organization called Fake Free India. Fake Free India, our vision and mission is to make India fake free and going forward, making global environment fake free for our next generations. That is a vision that with which we work with, and fortunately we take pride in the fact that we have a huge network of associates who provide us real-time information relating to incidents of fakes, and there are a lot of whistleblowers. We closely work with them, and we'll be delighted to work with anyone who wants to work in that space. But coming back to this presentation, specifically to the question that Philip asked about the impact of COVID. Yeah, in fact, interestingly, what happened in India, I'll share a couple of interesting examples from India. A lot of labor in the manufacturing sector started migrating. They started panicking and started migrating back to their hometowns in villages. They moved from cities, from the manufacturing bases, back to their hometowns. And suddenly there was a drop in production of essential goods. Now, like Philip mentioned in the beginning, that COVID offered a lot of opportunities. So maybe the bad guys like Jitendra keeps referring to those set of people, and I think Whitney has a softer word for them. So they saw this opportunity and they raised production of various products, and they flooded the market with fake products. It was so unfortunate because they did not stop at ordinary products. They started introducing even products relating to health and safety, including sanitizers, masks, and a whole lot of things. They started selling in the marketplace because there was a huge dearth of supply, and therefore they made best use of it. That is one. Second thing that I wanted to cover was, we strongly feel that brands they spend a lot of money, they spend a lot of efforts in building their brand reputation over the years. They spend billions of dollars building reputation, so therefore they are so sensitive about their brands. But we also feel that they tend to work in isolation. For instance, if I belong to an FMCG company, so I would be reluctant to admit that this fake brand is also available in the market. On the other hand, we strongly feel that in case we are mature enough, maybe we can take the role of a thought leader, which comes up front and states that, okay, there are certain fake products, and this is how you can identify, you can communicate with the consumer and other stakeholders. This is how you can identify and discard the fake products. We care about the health and safety of our consumer, and we are coming up front. I can share an example of this company called Usha International. There's a gentleman called Charat Bharatram, one of the big industrialists from India. He came up front and he admitted that Usha's sewing machines were made fake by certain people, and he was extremely successful in killing the people who were actually making those fake machines. In fact, there are other examples also. I'll give you a parallel example. I used to work with this company called Maruti Suzuki. Maruti Suzuki has more than 50% of automobile market share in India. This was about 15-20 years ago, when it was not fashionable to admit if there's something goes wrong in your manufacturing process. There was no concept of recalling cars from the marketplace, and that is when Suzuki decided that we will go up front and admit to consumers that there was some faulty element that went into the car, and we will recall cars from this chassis number to this chassis number. This was a huge risk, perceived to be a huge risk at that point of time, but that was again extremely successful, and it added to the reputation of the company. So I feel instead of working in isolation, if companies and brands choose to work together, choose to come up front, educate their consumer about how to identify fake products and therefore ban them, that will go a long way in identifying, because fake products are impacting the economy in a big way, they're impacting the health of the consumer in a big way, they're impacting the safety of the consumer in a big way. Media estimates that the size of fake economy in India, which is somebody calls it parallel economy, is as big as $1 trillion. And then you can imagine the kind of losses that exchequer faces, because almost 1/3 of that would have gone as taxes to government of India. So government loses, consumer loses, companies lose, everyone loses. So why don't we work together and think of some innovative solutions which would help us address the fake menace? Before we come back, I'll request other panelists also to pitch in, so that we can come back, we may have another round of questioning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arun, and I fully agree, with your request, for collaboration and all that. I'm a big fan of that. Unfortunately, what I have witnessed with COVID from a really macro level, what the first reaction was, all the countries started to close their borders. Everybody closed it, and it's even more difficult now to talk about collaboration in some of those activities. Although I said I'm still a fan of that, and it's probably also a waste of time and energy if everybody is doing that in his own corner. But again, as I said, we have now even new challenges coming, which are not always helping us to go into that direction. So Jitendra, you mentioned before, some of the key challenges that you had in terms, of these fake emails, websites, and everything. What is one of the key hurdles that you are facing, to fight that problem?
Domain name who has registered that domain name because of the privacy issues. So this is actually taking a lot of time to actually issue a notice or a cease and desist letters to the registrant of those domain names. So we are taking a different route if we receive any fraudulent email, phishing emails. So we started reporting to their registrars, and registrar response on those emails if we are able to prove that they are using it for phishing and all. But still, to get to know the registrant detail, it is still something which is a bigger challenge, which is like we are struggling. So previously it was even the registrar used to disclose the residents even if they are using some privacy or proxy services. However, now this is a bigger challenge. Now registrars also do not disclose, because this is something you have to be a GDPR compliant. So a lot of people have started registering these domain names. Like, as I said earlier, the bad guys register these domain names, and they are taking an advantage of these laws. So this is some challenges what we are facing at a very it's not only like a MetLife would be facing. These are the challenges across the brand owners are facing, and I believe that Whitney would also agree to this, that this is something a pain area that previously we used to get the details on a public available databases. Even if we do not have, if they are using some proxy services and all, we were able to get it from registrars and all by sending them some emails that these have been registered or used for any click-based business or something like that. So this is something a challenge. So we start taking a different route till the time there is any updates coming on these challenges, or some amendments or something happens for GDPR laws and all, and we get some solutions. So we have been raising these voices on these challenges across on several platforms and all. So I assume that in the near future we will be definitely getting some solution that how can what policies would come up to mitigate these things, how we can actually know what is behind, who is behind that domain name. So I think that we were also facing the same challenges if like people are sending some emails and marketing some products through cyber squaring emails and typo squarings and all. So this is something like a challenge, and the different routes what we are taking now is, if the website has a content on it, we try to file complaints with the server hosting organization to block those contents, rather sending directly cease and desist letter to the registrar, because we don't know who is it. So we start, if a website has a live content on it, we try to locate where their servers are hosted, which company is hosting their servers. We start filing copyright complaints on there. So this is something like which is a faster resolution. But this is only specific to the if the website has a content on it. But if the website doesn't have a content on it, then again we have to follow the different route. So we are coming with different strategies and different. We would like to report by using different methods. We use IP claims as well. We use phishing claims, that if an email is used for phishing, for taking some, if we have such evidences, we start reporting to the registrars. We start reporting to whomsoever they have the domain names with. So this is something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
Thank you, Sandro, and you already addressed Whitney. So Whitney has also some words to say on that topic.
Yeah. So I reiterate what Jitendra said. I agree that it's become a huge issue in terms of GDPR and the lack of transparency that we have now in terms of the Who Is website. One thing the way that I try to approach some of these issues is determining what is most materially detrimental to our company, and which consumers or how many consumers are being affected. I'll just share one example. We had one example where someone was kind of copying the exact look and feel of our website, and it wasn't clear initially if that person was just trying to collect credit card information or if they were actually shipping people product. And we discovered they were actually shipping people product. We found out that this person was based in Mongolia. We don't ship outside of the US. We only service the US currently. So in order to, the way that I approach this is on the technical side. So I worked with our engineers to say, are there companies that, someone can put in an address to ship to where it's kind of an intermediary and that party will ship it outside of the US? They found that there were. And so we then implemented a block on shipping to those addresses or allowing those third-party shipping companies. So that's just an example of kind of how to maybe sometimes deal with some of these things on the technical or the back-end side. And then the only other thing I wanted to share really briefly is something I found to be helpful because I'm the one attorney for all of marketing and advertising and our soft IP portfolio. So I trained our social media team on how to do initial takedowns for some social media sites, because oftentimes they're the first they're the first point of contact because they're hearing about these complaints from our customers. And if I have 4 other people on a different team that are able to at least initially send the takedown with our trademark numbers, our registration numbers, that has been pretty helpful. And it's also helpful to give them background so that they understand what to look for and they understand how to initially tackle it.
Okay, thank you. We are already over in terms of the time, but I am not going. Yeah, but I'm not. Don't worry, Arun. I'm not going to leave without giving the closing word to you. So the word is to you, Arun. And
Thank you.
Take it. Close it the way you want to close it.
Sure. Very quickly. Yeah. In fact, I just harp upon the point of people coming together, companies coming together for 2 reasons. One is that together they can do a lot of policy advocacy with the authorities so that the certain laws are amended. For instance, if people take fake drugs or fake food, they can end up getting AMR, and AMR will make entire humanity helpless. There will be no treatment to AMR unlike COVID. COVID will eventually, some vaccine will be found, but for AMR there may not be any treatment. So for such offences, if they are still treated as just IPR offences, then it is not good enough. Maybe it should be treated at par with drugs. So if industry comes together, they can do a lot of advocacy with the authorities so that the certain laws are amended. That is number one. Number two, another thing is most of us tend to be in the reactive mode rather than be in the proactive mode. For instance, I'll give you a small example. We tend to spend a lot of money on CSR. Okay, but there's hardly very meager budget allocated to addressing the issue of fake and counterfeit products. Very, very small budget. So I think we can make that change as a collective, as an industry forum. Third point I want to touch upon is authenticity. There are various products. I heard various speakers talk about establishing various ways of making their product authentic. But then parallelly you need to educate consumer as to how do they figure out between what is the original product, what is the fake product. And finally, I want to touch upon the accountability part. Like for instance, somebody suffers on account of counterfeit or substandard or fake product, then who is accountable? Is it the company? Is it the manufacturers of fake products? And finally, I'll give you a very, very strange idea. You'll all be shocked at Fake Free India. We're also thinking of, from the other side's perspective, why do people get into manufacturing fake products? In fact, one of the speakers mentioned about how they are able to sell at 1/100th of a cost of the normal branded product. Now, in case there are certain compulsion of some people going into the fake production, we also found out a lot of people who are into very high quality fake packaging manufacturing also. For instance, can we look at addressing the root cause of the problem, and can we try to bring those people back into the mainstream so that we can then eradicate fakes totally from the society? Can we get them into the mainstream? If they are good enough, then can we somehow engage them as official vendors, making them promise not to get into the fake market at all, so that they come into the mainstream and we can remove the root cause of the entire problem. It's slightly out of box, but I'm sure the gathering can consider this idea.
Yeah, so thank you to all the panelists, and thank you, Arun, for this provocative and closing of the discussion, which again, we should think about out of the box like that, and look if there are not some opportunities. Of course, there are not these kind of opportunities everywhere, but in some space it may work, So thank you very much to all the panelists, and of course, you can still contact all of them, via chat or contact information if you have further questions.